What if I told you in the skies over the Solomon Island there was a fighter terrifying enemies name it before they even understood it, a machine rejected by its own navy, a plane pilot were afraid to fly, until one man turned it into a nightmare. You hear it before you see it, that chilling whistle diving from the sky, and then it's already too late. Japanese pilot called it whistling death. But there is the real question, what if the aircraft had changed the war, or the man who unleashed it, because what happened next turned the Pacific skies into a hunting ground. April 7, 1943, 16,000 feet above the Solomon Islands. The sky is too quiet, not peaceful. Never peaceful here, just waiting. A marine pilot tightened his grip on the stick as the ocean glints far below, broken only by thin trails of white surf against black. Volcanic island, sweet crawl under the helmet despite the cold biting through the canopy glass. The engine in front of him roars like a chained beast, deep, uneven, powerful in a way that feels almost dangerous. Then it happens, a faint whistle, not from the wind, from the aircraft itself. It rises in pitch as the pilot noses down, the massive propeller beating into the air. The bent wings tremble slightly, and suddenly the craft is no longer flying. It is falling fast, too fast. You can almost feel it, the weight in your chest, the straps digging into your shoulders, the horizon flipping as the Corsair rolls slightly to line up the shot. Somewhere ahead, barely visible against the glare, a formation of Japanese fighters begin to scatter. They have seen him, but it's already too late. The pilot squeezes the trigger. 650 caliber machine guns erupt in a single violent charge, and the sky explodes. Weeks earlier, on the scared airstrip of Guadalcanal, nobody trusted the Corsair. Not really. They called it a brute, a mistake, a machine that tries to kill its own pilots as often as the enemy did. Long nose, terrible visibility, landing gear, the bounce like it had a mind of its own. It was fast, sure, but speed means nothing if you couldn't survive takeoff or landing. The Navy had already made its judgment too dangerous for carrier operations rejected. So the aircraft came here instead, to the Marines, to the men of the so-called Cactus Air Force flying out of Henderson Field, a strip of coral dust carved out of jungle and soaked in blood. Conditions here were primitive. Maintenance crews worked with whatever parts they could salvage. Pilots flew missions with patches, aircraft, and half-reliable radios. This wasn't where perfection mattered. This was where survival did, and the Corsair, it fit right in. The first time the Marines saw it up close, they weren't impressed. It looks long. That long nose straight out the front like the snout of some predatory animal. The everted gull wings gave it a strange, broken silhouette, and when the engine fired up loud, aggressive, almost violent, it didn't sound like a clean machine of war. It sounded angry. the kind of aircraft had demanded respect or punish you. Pilots climbed into the cockpit with skepticism and more than a little fear, because rumors had already spread. Landing exits, nose over, sudden stop, the kind of stories that make even seasoned aviators hesitate before stepping in. But out here, hesitation wasn't an option. You flew what you were given, or you didn't fly at all. Across the sky, their enemies waited, the Japanese Mitsubishi A6M Zero, light, agile, deadly. For months it has dominated the Pacific skies. American pilots have learned the hard way what happened when you tried to dogfight a Zero on its own terms. Turn with it and you were dead. Chase it in a cliff and you had it stall out before it did. The Zero was elegance, precision, and its pilots knew it. They had seen American aircraft before with cats struggling to keep you, heavier fighters trying to compensate for their lack of agility. They had confidence, experience, momentum. So when whispers of a new American fighter reached them, they laughed, a long-nosed monster that couldn't even land properly. They gave it a nickname, the American Whale. Slow to turn, easy to outmaneuver, a target waiting to happen, or so they thought. Back of Guadalcanal, the Marines didn't care what the Japanese thought. They were too busy figuring out how to survive their own aircraft. Takeoff required discipline, gradual throttle, careful corrections against the torque of the massive engine trying to twist the plane off the runway. Landing was worse. Visibility over the nose was nearly non-existent. Pilots had to weave slightly just to see the strip ahead, trusting instinct and experience more than sight. Mistakes were not forgiven, they were punished hard. But some things began to change. Slowly, subtly, pilots started to understand the machine, not fight it, work with it. Because when you got the Corsair into the air, everything changed. It was faster than anything else in the sky, not just a little faster, significantly. Where the Zero relied on agility, the Corsair relied on a raw, overwhelming power. It spread and with Guinea R2800 engine delivered a level of speed and claimed that turned every engagement into a question of choice. Engage or disengage. The Corsair pilot decided, and that changed everything. The first real test came without warning, a routine patrol, a handful of Corsair sweeping over the slot, the narrow stretch of water between the Solomon Islands, where enemy aircraft often passed through. The sky was clear, too clear. Then movement, dots on the horizon, growing. Japanese fighters, Zeros. The machine pilots felt immediately that familiar tightening in the chest, the knowledge that what came next would be fast, violent, and unforgiving. Old instincts whispered, turn with them, fight them head on, but something else, something new, took over. Altitude, speed, the Corsair climbed slightly, then rolled and drove. You can almost hear it again. The whistle, it wasn't design, it wasn't international. Air rushing through the aircraft's intakes created a high-pitched scream during high-speed dives. At first it seems like a flaw, now it sounded like warning. The Zero saw them coming, but they didn't understand, not yet. They turned, expecting the usual engagement, a twisting dogfight, a contest of maneuverability, but the Corsair didn't turn over. They slashed through high-speed passes, gun blazings, gone before the Zeros could react, then climbing again, resetting, coming back down like falling knives. Confusion spread through the Japanese formation. This wasn't how Americans fought. This wasn't how anyone fought. There was no dance, no prolonged engagement, just sudden, violent attacks from above and then nothing. Then the whistle again, closer this time, louder. Another drive, another burst of gunfire, another aircraft spiraling down in flames. For the first time, Zero pilots felt something unfamiliar, uncertainty, because they couldn't catch them, couldn't outclimb them. And when they tried to follow, the Corsair simply pulled away faster, always faster. Back in the cockpit, the Marine pilot pulls up hard, the G-forces crushing him into his seat. This vision narrows for a split second, black creeping at the edges, but it holds its level out, checks behind him, clear. The ocean flashes below. Again, as he banks into another climb, his breathing is heavy now, controlled but strained, his hands steady on the controls. He is not fighting the aircraft anymore, he is using it, and for the first time he feels it. Dominance. The radio crackled. Excited voice confirmation, shouts, enemy aircraft down. Multiple. The tone is different now, not cautious, not uncertain, confident. Below them, burning wreckage hits the water. Above them, the sky belongs to something new, something the enemy doesn't yet understand. But this was just the beginning, because soon a man would arrive who would like this raw, brutal machine and turn it into a weapon of legend, a man who didn't just fly the Corsair, he unleashed it, and when he did, the nickname American Whale would disappear forever, replaced by something far more terrifying, whistling death, and the skies over the Solomons would never be the same again. September 12, 1943, Munda Airfield, New Georgia. The heat is suffocating, engines idle, the tarmac coughing smoke into thick tropical air that smells of oil, sweet, and something faintly rotten from the jungle beyond. Mechanics move between aircraft with stained hands and dry eyes. Pilots stand in loose groups, half relaxed, half alert, men who have learned that even silence here can break without warning. Then a transport plane touches down. No one pays much attention at first until the door opens and out steps a man who doesn't look like the others. Wrinkled file suit, slouched posture, a face that looks older than it should, lined hardened, worn by something deeper than war alone. A cigarette hangs loosely from lips as he scans the airfield like he is already bored of it. This is Gregory Boyington, but nobody call him that. They call him Pappy. He doesn't look like a legend, not yet, but there's something in the way he walks slow, almost careless, then makes people notice anyway. Non-confidence, exactly. Something heavier, like a man who has already seen too much to be impressed by anything left. A marine officer approached, clipboard in hand, ready to brief him. Boyington cuts him off. Where are the corsairs? No greeting, no formalities, just that. Out on the edge of the field, the aircraft sit like predators at rest. Bent wing, massive engines, long noses, casting shadows across the ground. The Corsair, Boyington studies them in silence for a moment. Then he smiles. Not wide, not proud, just satisfied. By the time he arrives, the Corsair has already proven something. It can kill, but it hasn't yet become what it will be, because machine doesn't create legends, men do. Any Boyington, he is not a conventional man. He had already fought before this war, flew with the Flying Tigers on China, facing the Japanese in brutal, unforgiving combat. He had victories, experience, a reputation both respected and complicated. He drank, he fought, he ignored authority when it didn't suit him, but in the air, none of that mattered, because in the air he was something else entirely. Now standing on his battered airfield in the Solomons, Boyington is given a command, a squadron built from misfits, replacement pilots who didn't quite fit anywhere else. Marine Fighting Squadron 214, VMF 214. They would soon earn a name, but not yet. The first time Boyington addresses them, there's no grand speech, no dramatic build-up, just a group of pilots standing in the hut waiting. He looked them over one by one, measuring. Most of you wouldn't make it, he says finally. No reaction, just silence. He takes a drag from his cigarette. But if you listen, you might. It's not encouragement, it's truth. And somehow that works better. Training under Boyington, indifferent, aggressive, unforgiving. He doesn't care about textbook maneuver, doesn't waste time on what should work. He focused on what does work. Speed, altitude, surprise. He teaches them something simple but revolutionary in its execution. Never turn with a zero. The Corsair isn't built for that. It doesn't need to be. Instead, Boyington drills them in a new kind of combat rhythm. Climb high, stay fast, strike hard, then leave. Don't linger, don't chase, don't give the enemy a chance to respond. Some pilots struggle with it. It does against instincts, against pride. Heavy fighter pilots fond to dogfire, the twisting, turning duel where skill decides the outcome. Boyington strips that away. This isn't a duel, he tells him. It's a hunt, and the Corsair, it becomes the perfect hunting tool. They turn into weak. The squadron begin to change, not just in skill, but in attitude. They start trusting the aircraft, understanding it, respecting its power. The landings are still dangerous, the takeoffs still demand precision, but in the air, the Corsair feels unstoppable. Then comes the moment that changes everything. October 17, 1943, over the northern Solomon. VMF 214 is in the air. Boyington lays below them. Clouds drift like torn fabric. over endless ocean. Visibility is clear, too clear. The kind of day where nothing hides than movement. Enemy aircraft. A formation of zeros. The radio crackled. Tension is spiked instantly. You can almost feel it. The shift from routine to survival in a heartbeat. Boyington's voice cuts through the static calm. Controlled. Stay high. Stay fast. The Corsair climbed, not dramatically, just enough. Positioning, waiting. The Zeros continues forward, unaware, confident. Then Boyington rolls his aircraft, nose down. The dive begins. That sounds again. The whistle, louder now, sharper, like the sky itself is screaming. The rest of the squadron follows, one by one, falling into formation behind their leader. The Corsair become shadows dropping from the sun. Below, the Japanese pilots finally see them, but something feels wrong. This isn't a normal engagement. There's no gradual approach, no maneuvering, just sudden, overwhelming speed. Boyington picks his target, lines it up, waits, closer, closer, then fire. The cruiser shudders as all 6 machine guns erupt. Traces rip through the air, stitching a deadly path straight into the enemy formation. The first Zero doesn't even have time to react. It exploded. Boyington pulls up hard, climbing away before anyone can return fire. Behind him, his squadron does the same, in and out, fast, precise, lethal. The Japanese formation breaks, but it's already collapsing, because this isn't a fight they understand. Not yet. Another pass, another dive. The whistle cuts through the sky again. This time, the Zeros try to kill him, to meet the attack, but they can't match the speed, can't close the distance. One pilot attempts to run into the Corsair, a classic maneuver. It would have worked against anything else, but the Corsair doesn't turn. It accelerates straight past him, gone, then come back. Gunfire tears through another Zero. Flame bursts from its engine. It spiraled down, trailing smoke like a signal flare. Inside the cockpit, Boyington breathes steadily, focused, detached. This isn't chaos to him. It's control. Keep moving, he says over the radio. Don't give them a shot. The sky is no longer a battlefield. It's a killing ground. Minutes later, it's over. What remains of the Japanese formation field? No information, not with discipline, just escapes. PMF 214 regroups, circling, counting, alive. The radio is alive with voices now excited, disbelieving. Victory is confirmed, multiple kills, no losses. Below them, the ocean burns, and something shifts, not just in the outcome of a single battle, but in the balance of power itself, because word spreads fast among Japanese pilots. A new aircraft, a new tactic, a new threat. They stop laughing, stop calling in the American wail, because now they have heard it. That sound, that terrifying unnatural whistle in a dive. They gave it a new name, one born not from arrogance but from fear, whistling death. And at the center, a man who seems to thrive in the car, who turns risks into advantage, who leads not by caution but the dominance. But even legends have limits, and Boyington is about to push is far beyond the edge, because the next mission wouldn't just test the Corsair, it will test the man himself, and what happened in the sky will change everything. November 2nd, 1943, 21,000 feet above the Bismarck Sea. The sky ahead is crowded, not scattered, not distant, crowded. Dozens of aircraft, dark shapes moving in tight formation, glinting under the morning sun like shards of metal suspended in motion. Bombers, fighters, layer upon layer of them. And at the center of it all, Rabaul, the Japanese stronghold, a fortress of air power. In the cockpit of his Corsair, Gregory Boyington doesn't say anything at first. He just watches, measures, counts, because this isn't a patrol, this is something else. Behind him, VMF 214 holds formation, the Black Sheep. They wear the narrow now, unofficial, unpolished, but fitting, a squadron of outside turned into something sharp, something dangerous, and today they are flying into the most heavily defended airspace in the South Pacific, not because they want to, because they have to. The mission is simple of paper: escort American bombers striking Rabaul, keep enemy fighters of them, survive. But nothing about Rabaul is simple. It's not just an airfield, it's a network. Multiple runways, anti-aircraft guns, radar, patrol in the sky at all hours, experienced pilot flying out of it, men who have survived everything the Pacific has thrown at them to so far, and today they are ready. The radio crackled, bandaged, 12 o'clock high, Boyington's eye narrow. There they are, zeros, more than before, more disciplined, already climbing, already positioning. This time they are not surprised. You can feel it, the tension tightening like a wire, because this fight, it won't be quick. Boyington finally speaks. Stick to the plan. No extra words, not emotion, just command. The Corsair climbed slightly, not enough to waste speed, just enough to hold the advantage, because Boyington knows something now, something the first engagements proved beyond doubt. The Corsair win on its terms, but only on its terms. The bombers move forward, slow, heavy, vulnerable, and the Zeros, they go straight for them. Boyington doesn't hesitate. Let's go. The rolls into a dive, and once again that sound, the whistle cuts through the sky louder than ever before. Not one aircraft, not two, an entire squadron is screaming downwards like a storm breaking loose. The Japanese formation reacts instantly. They have learned. They scattered, break formation early, try to avoid the first strike, but Boyington anticipated them. He adjusts mind dive, doesn't aim for the center, targets the edges, the stragglers, the ones just slightly out of position trigger. The Corsair shakes as its guns erupt, tracers slipping forward in a blazing line. 1-0 tries to roll away, but it's too late. The rounds hit, the aircraft jolts, then flame bursts from the fuselage. Boyington pulls up hard, but this time they doesn't fully disengage, because now the sky is chaos. Zeros storms in from multiple directions. Their pilots no longer confused, but determined. They climb aggressively, trying to cut off the Corsair before they can rest. One slip behind a marine pilot, too close, break. The Corsair jerks violently to the side, the pilot pulling every ounce of strength against the G-forces, crushing him into his seat. The Zero fires, tracers streak past, just missing. This is what the Japanese wanted, close range, turning fight. For a moment it almost works, but the Corsair isn't what it used to be. Instead of trying to outrun the Zeros, the marine pilot does something different. He dives hard, full throttle. The aircraft surges forward like it's been unleashed. The Zero follows, confident, persistent, but then the distance starts to grow. The Zero can't keep it. The Corsair doesn't turn, doesn't slow, it just keeps accelerating, and then it claims. The Zero tries to follow, but it's already too late. The Corsair rolls over the top of the claim, now above, now behind. Hunter becomes hunted. Gunfire, another Zero falls across the sky. The same patterns repeat over and over and over again. The Japanese pilots are skilled, disciplined, experienced, but they are fighting the wrong battle, because this isn't about maneuverability anymore. It's about energy, speed, control, and the Corsair owns all these. Below, the bombers press forward, uninterrupted, dropping their payload over Rabaul. Explosions ripple across the airfields, columns of smoke rising, black and heavy, marking direct hits. But the fight above isn't over, not even close. A group of Zeros break through, three of them fast, closing in on a lone Corsair. Boyington sees it. He doesn't call it out, doesn't hesitate. He dives again. The whistle returns, sharper, closer, deadlier. The Japanese pilots hear it. Too late. Boyington fired. 1-0. Distinguished under the impact. The second wheels off. The third tries to climb. Boyington follows. Higher, faster, relentless. For a moment, it's just the two of them climbing into open sky. No distractions, no interference. The Zero pilots pulls hard, trying to force an overshoot, trying to beat them. But Boyington doesn't take it. He waits just a second longer, then fires. The rounds connect. The Zero shutter, then break apart. Silence, just for a moment. Boyington levels out, breathing steady, eyes scanning. Below him, the sky is clearing. The Japanese formation is breaking, not retreating in order, not regrouping, just leaving. The Black Sheep regroup again, counting, checking, still alive. The radio fills with voices, confirmed kills, excited shouts, disbelief. But Boyington doesn't celebrate, not yet, because he knows what this means. This wasn't just another fight. This was Rabaul, the heart of Japanese air in power in the region. And today, they didn't just survive it, they dominated it. The Corsair has proven itself beyond doubt, beyond question, but victory has a cost, and it's coming, because the enemy is learning, adopting, watching, and next time we won't make the same mistake. Boyington looks out over the horizon, the smoke rising from Rabaul, the empty sky where enemy fighters once filled the air. For now, they own it, but not for long, because somewhere out there, a counterattack is already formatting, bigger, stronger, more prepared, and when it comes, even the whistling death might not be enough. January 3rd, 1944, 18,000 feet over Rabaul. The clouds are thicker today, layered, heavy, unpredictable, the kind of sky that's eyes thing. In the cockpit, Gregory Boyington leans forward slightly, scanning through gaps in the cloud cover. His eyes move constantly, left, right, above, below. Something feels off, not fear, not doubt, just resistance, like the sky itself is waiting. Behind him, VMF 214 holds formation, but tighter than usual. The easy confidence from earlier victories is gone, replaced by focus, discipline, a quiet awareness that today might not follow the same pattern because the enemy has changed. Weeks of combat have taught the Japanese something critical. Don't chase the Corsair, don't turn with it, don't fight it alone. Now they are doing something different. The radio crackled, multiple bandits, high and low, Boyington's jaws tightened. A trap, they are not attacking. From one direction, they are surrounding. Out of the clouds, Japanese emerged zeros, but not in loose formation, tight groups, coordinated. One element dives, another killing. The third circle wide, cutting off escape routes. This isn't chaos, this is planning. Boyington react instantly, break formation, stay fast. The Corsair is scattered, not in panic, but the purpose. Each pilot knows the drill now. Separation isn't weakness, it's survival. The first attack hit fast, zeros diving from above, firing early, trying to disrupt before the Corsair can build speed. A marine pilot roll hard to the right, tracers slicing past his canopy. The sky flashes with gunfire, brief violent streak of flight cutting through cloud shadows. This is different. No hesitation, no confusion. The Japanese have learned by rhythm. Boyington pulls into a shallow dive, not full commitment, not yet. He needs speed, but also need awareness. Too deep, and he'll lose the bigger picture. Below him, a Corsair is already in trouble. Two zeros on his tail. Close, too close. Dive now. Boyington snaps over the radio. The pilot obeys instantly, pushing the nose down, engine roaring. As the aircraft accelerates, the zeros follow. Of course they do, and that's the mistake. Boyington rolls inverted, dives straight after them. The whistle screams, it cuts through everything. The engine noise, the gunfire, the radio chatter, a sound that now carries meaning danger. The Japanese pilots hear it, but they are committed, focused on their target. Boyington lines up the rear zero, waves closer, closer, fire. The Corsair bucks as all six guns unleashed. The rounds tear through the zeros, fuselage striding its mid-drive. It erupts into flame, pieces scattering into the air behind it. The second zero reacts instantly, pull up, trying to escape, but Boyington is already there. He climbed hard, chasing. The engine is changed, soaring with raw power. The distance closer. The zero banks left, sharp, desperate. Boyington doesn't follow the turn. He predicts it, cuts across, and fires again. The second Zero spiral out of control gone, but there's no time to breathe. More incoming. The sky fills again. New formation. Fresh pilots. This isn't a single engagement. It's a wave. Boyington looks around quickly, counts, checks. They are outnumbered badly for the first time in week. The Corsair don't control the sky. The pair of Zeros dive directly at Boyington head-on. Aggressive, he doesn't flinch at the last second. He rolls lightly, firing as the pass. Tracers flash between them, close enough to feel, but not enough to hit. The sky exploded into motion. Aircraft crossing paths at impossible angles. Dives, climbs, gunfire, smoke. A Corsair takes a hit, fuel leaking. The pilot fires to maintain control. Another is forced low, skimming just above the ocean, trying to escape the swarm above. This is what the Japanese wanted, not a hunt, a grind. Boyington pulls up sharply, scanning, thinking, they can't win this by fighting every engagement. Too many enemies, too many angles. He keeps the radio. Regroup north, don't stay in the fight. Some pilots hesitate. Every instinct screams to keep fighting, to press the advantage, but this time there is no advantage. Boyington dives again, not to attack, but to break contact. Speed built instantly. The Corsair surge forward, leave the chaotic center behind one by one. The others follow, breaking away, running. The Japanese purpose. Of course they do, but they can't match the acceleration, can't close the gap. The Corsair stretched the distance faster, farther, until finally the sky behind them empties. Silence returns. Heavy breathing fills cockpit. Pilots check instruments, check each other. Not all them respond. Boyington looks back, counts again. They made it out, but not clean. For the first time since the Corsair arrived in the Solomons, the enemy didn't just react, they restricted the fight. Back at base, the mood is different. Not cheer, not excitement, just quiet, because now they understand something new. The Corsair is powerful, deadly, dominated when used correctly, but it's not invincible, and the enemy is evolving. Boyington stands beside his aircraft as the engine ticks and cools. Mechanics move around him, inspecting damage, patching bullet holes, replacing what they can. He lights a cigarette, takes a slow track. His eyes aren't on the place. They are one of the horizon, because he knows what comes next. The Japanese won't stop. They will refine this, improve it, come back stronger, and next time they might not just challenge the Corsair, they might break it. Boyington exhales smoke into the humid air. Expression unreadable, because deep down he's already made a decision. The next fight won't be defensive, won't be reactive. It will be something else, something riskier, more aggressive, something that could either secure their dominance or destroy everything they have built. And when that moment comes, there will be no room for error. January 27, 1944, 24,000 feet above Simpson's harbor, Rabaul. The sky is alive again, but this time it feels different. Below the harbor, it stretches out like a steel trap. ship ensured in tight formation, anti-aircraft batteries lining the course, smoke already rising from earlier strikes. The water reflects flashes of light as shell burst in the air, dark puff marking invisible lines of death. This is the heart of it, the most heavily defended airspace in the South Pacific, and today they are going straight through it. In the lead Corsair, Gregory Boyington doesn't wait, no hesitation, no slow approach. Full dive, he ordered. There's a pause on the radio, just a fraction of a second, because everyone understands what that means. Not a controlled engagement, not a cautious strike, a full commitment. Then the squadron follows. Nose drop, engines roar, and the sky began to scream. The whistle, not one aircraft, not 10, all of them. It rises into high pitches, terrifying shake as VMF 214 plunges from altitude like a falling blade. The Corsair accelerates past 400 knots, air tearing across their frames. Control is stifling under the pressure. You can almost feel it. The weight, the speed, the violent pull of gravity turning to rip everything apart. Below, the Japanese see them, and this time they don't wait. Fighters launch immediately. Zeros clambering hard from multiple airstrips, already angling for interception. Anti-aircraft guns open up in coordinated bursts, filling the sky with black explosions. This isn't just a defense, it's a wall. Boyington doesn't pull up, doesn't break, he goes straight through it. Flag bursts around him, close enough to shake the aircraft. Fragments tearing past the canopy. The Corsair shudders but holds together, engine roaring like it refused to die. Then enemy fighters ahead, climbing fast, ready. Boyington smiles slightly now. He levels out just enough and fires. The 650 caliber guns erupt again, tracers streaking forwards into the climbing formation. 10 takes the full burst, its wings shears off instantly. The aircraft is spinning violently before disappearing into the chaos before. The rest scatter, but not far enough. The Corsair are already among them. This isn't the clean hit and run anymore. This is something else. A storm. Corsairs tearing through formations at impossible speed, firing in shots, brutal burst, then roaring and diving again before the enemy can respond. The sky comes a blur of motion, aircraft crossing path, the smoke trails twisting, flashes of gunfire appearing and vanishing in seconds. A Japanese pilot tries to line up behind one of the Marines. He gets closer, then hears that sound. He looks up just in time to see a Corsair diving straight at him. Too fast, too sudden, gunfire. The Zeros disintegrated mid-turn across the battlefield. The same pattern repeats, but something is changing. The Japanese aren't just reacting now, they are adapting again. Instead of chasing the Corsair in drive, some begin climbing early, trying to intercept before the attack fully develops. Others stay higher, waiting, conserving energy, preparing to strike when the Marines pull up. They are learning fast, and that makes this fight even more dangerous. Boyington sees it, understanding instantly they can't stay. Not here, not like this. But he also knows something else. If they leave now, the enemy will claim this sky again. He makes a decision, stay on them. It's a risk, a big one, because now they are not just striking, they are committing. The Corsair push deeper, lower, closer to the harbor. Anti-aircraft fire intensifies, explosion everywhere. The sky feels smaller, tighter, like it's closing in. One Corsair takes a hit, some pause from the engine. The pilot struggles but keeps flying. Other dives too steeply, pulling up at the last seconds, barely clearing the water before climbing again. This is the edge, and Boyington is pushing them. He spots a gap of zeros forming up again, higher, organized, preparing another coordinates attack. He doesn't wait, he claims hard. The engine roars in protest, but the Corsair responds, clawing its way upward with raw power. The distance closer, the Japanese pilots see him, turn to engage, exactly what he wants. At the peak of the climb, he rolls and dives again. The whistle returns louder than ever. The Zeros try to scatter, but they are too close. Gunfire rips through the formation. One aircraft bursts into flame. Other spirals away. The third barely escapes, diving desperately towards to the cloud. Boyington puts up one more, breathing heavy now. Even he feels it, the strain, the limits. This isn't sustainable, and then the moment comes, a sudden burst of fire from the side, unexpected. Tracers flash past his cockpit too close. He jerks the control, rolling hard, the aircraft responding instantly, but not before a round strikes the wing. The Corsair shudders for the first time in this fight. Boyington is hit, not critically, not yet, but enough to remind him the sky isn't theirs. Not completely. He steadies the aircraft, checks controls, is still responsive, is still alive. But the message is clear. They have pushed far enough. Break off, he orders. This time no hesitation. The Corsair disengage one by one, pulling away, climbing, accelerating. The Japanese try to follow, but they can't keep up. Not at this speed, not at this angle. The distance grows, and slowly the battle fades. Back over open water, the squadron regroups, demanded, exhausted but alive. The radio is quieter this time, not shouting, not celebration, just confirmation. Loses his survivors. Boyington says nothing for a while. He just flies, watching the horizon, thinking, because he knows what just happened. They didn't just fight the enemy today. They meet their equal, a forces that can adapt, learn, push back, and next time it won't just be dangerous, it will be decisive. But wars aren't won by dominance alone, they are won by endurance, and something tells him the fight is far from over. January 27, 1944, late afternoon. Over St. George Channel near Rabaul, the light is changing. The harsh brightness of midday is fading, replaced by a softer golden hue stretching across the ocean. Shadows grow longer. The sky, once chaotic with fire and motion, now feels thinner, quieter but not safe, never safe. VMF 214 is still in the air, scattered, reforming, some aircraft trailing in smoke, others flying steady but silent, their pilots trained, Focus only on getting home. At the front, Gregory Boyington is still flying, is still leading. His Corsair carries the scars of the fight, small punctures in the wing, the faint smell of burned metal creeping into the cockpit. Nothing critical, nothing that should bring him down, but enough to remind him he got lucky. The radio crackled immediately. Pilots checking in. Voices quietly now. Less energy. Boyington scans the sky again. Left, right, above. Something isn't right. Stay sharp, he said. It's instinct, experience, the feeling that comes after a fight like this. When you think it's over and it isn't, then movement, doors high, fast, closing, zeros, fresh. The Japanese didn't commit everything earlier. They held something back, and now they are using it. The Corsair hour. Low end energy, fuel, focus. This is the moment to strike. Bandits high, a voice call. Too late to claim, too late to reposition. They are already driving. The attack comes fast, violent, precise. Traces tear through the formation. A Corsair jerks suddenly. Its other brake had left, barely avoiding a burst of gunfire. Boyington reacts instantly. Brake, brake. The sky fractures again into chaos, but this time it's different. The Corsair aren't attacking, they are surviving. Boyington rolls into a dive, trying to regain speed, trying to create space. His aircraft responds, but not as sharply as before. The damage, the fatigue is catching up. A Zero locks into him, close. President Boyington dive harder, throttle full. The engine roars, but the distance doesn't open as quickly as it should. Another Zero joins. Two on his tail, he bangs sharply, pulls up, rolls. Every maneuver precise, but just a fraction slower than before. Gunfire flashes past his canopy. Close, then it's even. Get off me, he snaps over the radio. A Corsair tries to respond, dives forward his position, but it's too far, too late. The Zeros are disciplined now. They don't overcommit it, don't chase blinding. They still just within range, just close enough. Waiting. Boyington tries one more maneuver. A sudden claim. It's risky, aggressive, but it's worked before. The Corsair stands upward, engine pushing hard, nose lifting into the sky. For a moment, it seems like it might work. The distance begins to shift, then gunfire, a burst from below, another Zero, hidden, waiting. The rounds hit, the Corsair shudders violently. Smoke fills the cockpit, warning light flash. The engine cough, and then power drop. Just like that, Boyington grips the control tighter, tries to stabilize, tries to recover. But the aircraft is losing speed, losing altitude. The sky spins slightly as he fights to keep control. Mayday, mayday, his voice cuts through the radio. Then static, below the ocean waves, endless, unforgiving. Other pilots see him. Pappy is hit. A Corsair dives forward him, trying to cover, trying to help, but the Zeros are still there, circling, blocking. Boyington tries to level out. The controls feel heavy now, sludging, smoke thickness. He knows there's no saving this aircraft. The realization is sudden, clear. He has second. The canopy jerks open. Wind slams into the cockpit, tearing at the scale, roaring in his eyes. He pulls the release and jumps for a moment. Silence. Then the parachute snaps open above him. The Corsair continues for a few more seconds, then dips, spiral, and disappears into the sea. The sky above is still filled with movement, distant gunfire fading, but Boyington is no longer part of it. He is drifting downwards, alone. The ocean rises to meet him. Back in the air, the remaining Corsair fight their way out, angry, focused, but they can't stay. They pull away one by one, and for the first time, they leave without their leader. Silence settles over the water. Boyington hits the surface hard. The impact knocks the breath out of him. Cold water closing in instantly. He struggles for a moment, untangling, orienting, surviving. Then stillness. Waves roll around him. The sky stretches above, empty now. No Corsair, no Zero, just him. Minutes pass, maybe longer. Time feels different here, slower, heavier than a sound engine. Low approaching. Boyington turns. North American, Japanese, a float plane descends toward the water. He watches it come closer. No stand left to run, no way to Faust. The realization settles in. This isn't rescue, it's capture. As the aircraft touches down nearby, sending ripples across the water, Boyington exhales slowly. The fight is over for now, but the story is it's not, because while the man is gone, the legend is just beginning. And back in the skies over the Solomons, the whistling death still flies, but without Pappy. Something has changed, something the enemy is about to test, and the next battle will prove whether the Corsair was powerful because of the man, or powerful enough to stand without him. February 1944, Anderson Field, Cattle Canal. The runway looked the same. Same crushed coral, same height rising in shimmering waves, same distance jungle pressing in from all sides like it's waiting to recalm everything. But something is missing. The engine still starts, the Corsair is still over. Pilot is still climbing into their cockpit, strap in and prepare for another mission. But there's no voice cutting through the noise, no cigarette-lit figure walking the line of aircraft with that quiet, dangerous confidence. Gregory Boyington is going at first. No one says it out loud, because saying it makes it real. Missing in action. Test of air report. Not dead, not alive, just gone. But the effect immediate. VMF 214 feels it. Every pilot does, because Boyington wasn't just a leader, he was a force. The one who pushed them harder, faster, further than they thought possible. The one who turned the Corsair from a dangerous machine into a weapon precision, and now they are on their own. The first mission without him is quieter. No dramatic speeches, no aggressive push, just a briefing, targets, route, fuel calculations, standard procedure. But in the air it feels different. The Corsair climbed into position, forming up over the ocean. Engine steady, wings slicing through humid air. Everything looked the same. But the rhythm is off. No instinctively push, no sudden dive lead by a man who thrives on the edge, just caution. Then enemy contact, zeros. They appear like they always do, dots growing into shapes, shapes turn into threads, but this time the Corsair hesitates just for a second, and in combat, a second matters. The Japanese notice it. They don't rush in blindly. They don't scatter. They test a probing attack. One group dives, pulls away quickly, watching, waiting. The Corsair responds, but not as sharply, not as aggressively. The fight begins. But it's not the same. Instead of clean, decisive dives, there are half-committed passes. Instead of controlled disengagement, there's uncertainty. A zero slip behind one of the marine fires, misses but close, too close. Another Corsair dives late, fired too early, misses completely. The pattern is breaking because something is missing. Confidence, not in the aircraft, in themselves. Back at base, the tension builds. Pilots reply the engagement in their minds. What went wrong? What feels different? They don't say his name, but they are thinking it. Boyington would have pushed harder. Boyington would have seen that opening. Boyington would have taken that shot, and slowly that thought becomes something dangerous. Doubt. The enemy sense it. Days later, another mission, same skies, same threat, but this time the Japanese come in stronger, more aircraft, better coordination. They have studied the Corsair, studies the tactics, and now they are testing the weakness. The fight era fast, Corsair dive but not together. Zeros counter more aggressively. One marine pilot finds himself in a turn, a mistake. The zero closes in, fires. The Corsair jerks, smoke, break. The radio feels watch agency, but the formation is already fractured. This is what happens when rhythm breaks chows. Another Corsair dives to assist, but misjudges his speed. Overshoots, the zero escapes, opportunity lost. The sky feels tighter now, more dangerous, because the advantage is slipping. Back on the ground, something danger. The pilots scatter, not for a briefing, not for orders, for something else, a realization. One of them finally says it. We are flying light, not most, already silenced, because it's true. They have been reacting, hesitating, waiting for someone who lead, but no one is coming. Boyington isn't coming back, and in that moment something shifts, because they understand now. The Corsair didn't become deadly because of one man. It because deadly because they learned how to use it. All of them. The tactics, the speed, the discipline that doesn't disappear unless they let it. The next mission feels different. Not hesitation, not waiting. The Corsair climb, firm tighter, more sharper. Enemy contact. This time they don't wait, they climb higher, position early, then dive. The whistle returns loud, sharp, familiar. The Japanese react but not flash enough. The Corsair hit hard, clean, precise. One pass, 2, 3, in and out, no lingering, no mistake. A zero tries to turn, but the Corsair is already gone. Another tries to climb, but it's too slow. Gunfire, flames, the pattern returns, the rhythm, not because of one man, but because of what he taught them. The sky begins to shift again. Confidence returns. The Japanese feel it, recognize it, because this is what they feared. Not a single pilot, a squadron that knows exactly what it's doing. The fight ended quickly. Roger, regroup, count, all accounted for this time. No losses. Back at base. The mood is different. Not relief, not celebration. Something quieter, a stronger understanding. Boyington may be gone, captured, lost somewhere beyond the horizon, but his way of fighting, his instinct, his aggressions, it is still here in every pilot, every dive, every pull of the trigger. The Corsair doesn't need a legend to be deadly, because now it has many, and the enemy they are about to face something even more dangerous than before, not just whistling death, but a sky full of it. Mid-1944, the Solomon Islands. Dawn breaks slowly over the Pacific, a thin line of orange cuts across the horizon, reflecting off calm water that gives no hints of the violence it has witnessed. For a moment, everything feels still then. Engine ignite, one after another, Corsair rose to lie across the airstrips of the Solomons. Mechanics step back, pilots signal, propeller blur into spine, disk of power. The sound builds deep, thunderous, unmistakable. This is no longer an experiment, no longer a question. The Vought F4U Corsair has become the dominant force in the sky. Pilots climb into their cockpit with something they didn't have months ago: certainty. They know what this aircraft can do, they know what they can do, and the enemy, they know it too. High above the island, a formation of Japanese aircraft moves cautiously. Tight spacing, lost confidence, because now they are the ones being hunted. The Corsair arrive fast, high altitude, perfect position. They don't hesitate, they dive. The whistle returns, that terrifying rising screams that has become legend across the Pacific. Not just a sound, but a signal. Death is coming. The Japanese pilots react instantly, breaking formation, try to scatter before the impact, but it doesn't matter. The Corsair are already among them. Gunfire erupts, precise, controlled. A Zero bursts into flames. Mid-turn, another tries to dive, but a Corsair follows effortlessly, closing the distance with overwhelming speed. The balance is gone completely. Where once the Zero ruled with agility, now it struggles to survive, because it cannot outrun the Corsair, cannot outdive it, cannot distract the fight. Every engagement follows the same ritual pattern: dive, strike, climb, reset, again and again. The Japanese try to everything. They attempt to climb early. The Corsair simply go higher. They try coordinated attacks. The Corsair breaks, separate, and re-engage from superior position. They try to lure them into turning fires. The Corsair refuse. Discipline, precision, control. This is no longer improvisation. This is mastery. This one engagement, a group of Zeros attempts a desperate tactics, diving straight into the Corsair formation, forcing close combat. For a moment, it almost works. The Sky Titan distance closer. A Corsair banks sharply to avoid a collision. Another is forced, but then they recover instead of turning. The dive speed builds instantly. The formation stretches, separates, then reforms above, and the cycle begins. Again, the Japanese pilots are trapped in a fight they cannot win, because every mistake, Every hesitation is punished instantly. Below the ocean becomes a graveyard, burning wreckage while it slicks, smoke drifting across the surface. Above the crusher circle, untouched, and the sound that whistle echoes again and again. It spreads beyond the battlefield. Japanese pilots begin warning each other, sharpening stories, a new kind of fear, not a single craft, but of what it represents is speed they cannot match, tactics they cannot counter, pilots who no longer hesitate, whistling death. The name is thick because it's fit. Back at base, new pilots arrive, young, unexperienced. They hear the stories, see the aircraft, and for the first time, they are not afraid of it. They are eager because now the Corsair isn't a race, it's an advantage. Veteran pilots teach them quickly the same lesson Boyington once gave. Stay fast, stay high, never turn. The knowledge spreads, expands, becomes doctrine, and the results overwhelming. Kill ratio claim loses drop, the sky changes. What was once contested is now controlled. The Japanese air begins to shrink, fewer patrol, more caution, because every time they rise to meet the Corsair, they pay for it heavily, but far from the battlefield. On a remote island, a man sits incapacitatively. George Boyington, he doesn't see the victories, doesn't hear the stories, he doesn't know what the tactics he pushed. The risk he took, the machine he helped unleashed, has changed the war in the sky for him. Time moves differentially now, slow, uncertain, but out here in the air, his legacy flies on. Every dive, every burst of gunfire, every whistle cutting through the sky. The Corsair no longer needs proving. It has already proven everything, and the enemy, they have learned the final lesson. Some fights you don't win, you survive if you can, and we the Corsairs appear above most kind. The sky belongs to them now completely, and the legend of the vessel death is no longer began written, is already carved into history. As the smoke cleared over the Solomon Islands, one truth became undeniable: the sky had changed forever. The Vought F4U Corsair was no longer the dangerous mistake pilots once feared. It had become something far greater, a symbol of dominance, speed, and ruthless precision. And behind the transformation stood men like Gregory Boyington, flawed, fearless, and relentless. But the real legacy wasn't just in the victories, it was in the evolution.